Good afternoon, everyone. It is Thursday, March 30th, and I am Gary Ryan here with you for the Fed League Flash. Videos every day except Wednesday. Key point. Remember, on Wednesdays, no videos. I'm in Spotify. So if you want the latest as far as what goes on between Tuesday and Wednesday, make sure to go to Spotify. Download the app if you haven't already. It's a free app, easy to use, and search for Fed League Flash and look for me. And Wednesdays, you can keep up to date on everything going on in the Fed, or most everything. All right, so yesterday on the Spotify podcast, we broke down the press conference that was the Delaware Thunder, and I shared there that there was a lot said and there was nothing said. So we know as much now as we did before the press conference. And just if you think I'm being a little cynical with that, 2 minutes for Roughing Podcasting just posted their episode, and they're saying the exact same thing I am. It was a lot, much ado about nothing. So we still don't know what the future holds for Delaware Thunder. Can they get a lease done with the Fairgrounds Ice Center? Can they get a 2-year extension so they can hopefully, optimistically, go ahead with plans for a new rink facility in Dover, which would be potentially ready in 2 years? We don't know. So anyway, that's that. So let's talk about Delaware with something that we do know. And it's good news. Thunder fans, you get good news. Trevor Martin is back. Probably, easily one of the top 3 goaltenders in the league. Doesn't have the numbers to back up that claim, but trust me, Trevor's fantastic. He's had a couple stints up in the ECHL. He's spent quite a while up in the SPHL, about a month, and he is back. So Delaware gets Trevor Martin back. Now it's too bad that there's only like 7 or 8 games left of the season, because I would have loved to see Delaware with a tandem of Trevor Martin and Kozlowski in net. Kozlowski has proved himself in his tenure with the Thunder. So to make room for Trevor Martin on the roster, Delaware had signed defenseman Bryce French. They waived him because, when you have 2 fantastic goalies, who needs defensemen? All right, speaking of defensemen and speaking of former Delaware Thunder, Elmira did sign Eric Oganezov, which had been rumored over the weekend. He was seen at Elmira's facility when the Mammoth played the Thunderbirds, and so he is looking forward to playing there. He is playoff eligible, so he will be sticking around with the Mammoth for the playoffs, which I think is the whole reason why he was signed. Merkel's been out with an injury. He's been coaching. And Nathan Campbell, he's been out as well. Campbell might be ready for this weekend. We'll see. But Elmira sure could use a good defenseman, and Eric Oganezov has turned into a pretty good one. Again, numbers aren't great, but again, consider that he spent the majority of the year with Delaware. That's not putting Delaware down. It's just obviously reflecting upon their record. When when you lose all of your games except for 6 of them or 8 of them, yeah, you're going to have some bad numbers. But Eric Oganezov is a very sound defenseman, so he should really help bolster the blue line in Elmira. All right, and while we're staying with the Empire Division, Binghamton Black Bears made some news. they got one of their players back as well. They got Jesse Anderson back, he spent more than half the year up with the Macon Mayhem of the SPHL and played very well. 6 goals, 6 assists there. Now, in the 20 games that he played with Binghamton, he had 12 goals, 10 assists. And very speedy forward, does great on both penalty kill and power play units. So that's a big upgrade. Now, to make room for him, Binghamton had to sever ties with a forward, so Everett Thompson is the guy that goes. Which it's unfortunate anybody had to go, but Everett Thompson filled in nobly for about 10 games with the Black Bears after Tyler Gjurich had gone down with the injury. But there's just a lot more offensive potential and speed available with Jesse Anderson in the lineup. So it wasn't that hard of a move to make. Binghamton also signed another collegian, Connor Smith. This might be a name that people are going to be looking for next season. Remember, he's a collegian, so he's not going to be playing in the playoffs. But here's a kid who had 100 goals scored over 4 years at Adrian College, which is in the ACHA. There's been quite a number of players that have come out of the ACHA to play in the Fed and have done very, very well. So we're going to keep an eye on Connor Smith. He's a big dude, big forward, is 6'4", 205 pounds. So he's not going to get pushed around. Putting that in the perspective, he's same height as Jake Schultz, and I think he's got a few pounds on Schultz as well. So that's that. Now, tomorrow, we're going to have video. I'm going to try and post it earlier, maybe around 11:30 in the morning. We'll see how the day goes. It all depends on what the boss says. But anyway, going to do a preview of the weekend's games. See if anybody kind of solidifies their spots in the playoffs. Now, all 8 playoff teams are locked in. We just don't know the order, with the exception of, we know Danbury is going to be the number 1 team in the Empire Division, and Binghamton is going to be the number 2 team. Those are locked in. You've got battles going on between Columbus and Carolina for the top spot in the Continental Division. And then for the quote-unquote runners-up, you've got a dogfight going on between the Port Huron Prowlers and Motor City Rockers. And then there's only 5 points separating Watertown and Elmira at this point. So a lot could change. You're looking at the standings, and chances are where they are now is probably where they're going to finish and get seeded. But 7-8 games to go, a lot can happen. So never say never. All right. Tyler Gjurich, speaking of the Black Bears, he is on the cusp of setting an FPHL record. He is currently tied atop the leaderboard for goals scored all time, tied with Ahmed Mahfouz. And it looks like sometime before the end of the season, Gjurich will be the new number 1 as far as goals scored. 295 goals scored in FPHL play. And so Tyler's first crack at becoming the new trendsetter is going to be Friday night in Binghamton as the Black Bears take on Elmira. So we will keep a close watch and see what Gjurich can do, especially if he sets up in Ovechkin's office on the power play. All right, so that is what we've got for today's edition of the Fed Flash. Remember to hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so every time a new video gets posted, you'll know, and you can keep up to date with what is going on in the Federal Prospects Hockey League. Remember also to check me out on Spotify. And again, search for me there at the Fed League Flash. Make sure to hit follow. And every Wednesday when I do a new episode on Spotify, you can be aware and keep up to date. So that is that. All right. So I am Gary Ryan. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all your support and your encouragement. Appreciate you all for watching. And we will catch up with you again tomorrow as we preview what could be a very, very exciting weekend in the Fed